All right, welcome to the Nerd Talk podcast, nerdy talk for nerdy fans. I'm your host, Remington Kais, and today we got a special guest on the show. We got co-host of the podcast Land of the Creeps and host of the recently launched music, movies, sports, and stuff podcast. We got Bill. How you pronounce your last name?
Van Vegel.
Van Vegel.
A nice Dutch name, Van Vegel.
Just tell the show a little bit about yourself.
Hey, everybody. My name is Bill Van Vegel. I've been in the podcast game 6.5, 7 years now, and I've been co-host of a podcast called Land of the Creeps, where we review horror movies. I'm a movie nerd in terms of how this show was presented. In the last 3 years, I've probably seen somewhere in the range of 1,200 movies. I'm over, I could look to my app, I'm about 105, 110 so far this year. And I'm a glutton for punishment. You give me the top end Hollywood films or your most independent of independent films, and I will check them out. I've seen everything in between.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is this all current movies or just movies all in general?
I will watch a movie from 1910.
Wow.
I will watch one of my favorite horror movies of all time is The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1918 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I can watch that. I can watch black and white. I can watch foreign films. I can watch films where I don't know the mythology. I have a penchant. My nickname on the show is Bill the Butcher. I love gore. Love gore. Nothing scares. Like if anybody goes, "Oh, that's the worst I've seen," I'll go, "That looks like a Disney film compared to what I've seen."
You might like the B Stream. The B Stream is like a streaming service that, like, their advertisement on there is basically, we will show you the horror movies that are too bloody to be on Netflix.
Absolutely. You give me the Japanese guinea pig films. You give me August Underground. You give me Salo. You give me a Serbian film. They're all fine. But I also just launched a podcast called Music, Movies, Sports, and Stuff, in which it's a lot shorter. Land of the Creeps episodes are between 3 and 6 hours. And our listeners love them that long because it sometimes gets them through a shift at work. Whereas Music, Movies, Sports, and Stuff is about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I focus on my loves of my life, other than my wife and my daughter, are music, movies, sports, and then a chance to ramble on about whatever's on my mind. And so I take about 15 to 20 minutes on each of those 4 respective topics.
All right, cool. Yeah, I used to listen to the John Campea podcast while I was working in a warehouse.
Okay.
Back in the day. So that used to get me right through the day. And before that, it was Collider Films. What was it? Collider Movie Talk,
Yeah, and with anyone, whether you're listening to either one of my podcasts, I don't come off as highfalutin. Like I want you to listen and pretend you're at the pub with your buddies.
Right.
Or you're in the living room with your girlfriends or whatever, and you're just shooting the shit. And that's the way I go about my business.
So we're going to get into our first topic of the day, which is Lilo and Stitch is projected to make more opening weekend than Snow White's entire domestic run.
Okay.
Stitch is back and breaking records. Disney's Blue Alien Buddy might just outshine the fairest of them all at the box office. It's tracking to make $100 million opening weekend. And we're going to break down how a live-action movie like Lilo and Stitch is poised to eclipse Snow White's total domestic run and offer more commentary. Do you think it's because Lilo and Stitch is more popular, or it offers more commentary on how the box office, how Snow White was a box office failure? Bill, you can start us off.
I'm not all that familiar with Lilo and Stitch because my daughter didn't watch her. So I didn't get stuck with them. I watched a lot of the other ones, but I think there's a factor there that you didn't mention, and I think one of the factors is the kids want to go because it's cool, but Lilo and Stitch is old enough that the parents remember it being cool when they were a kid, so you're getting the double audience. And the other thing about these films is I've seen a whole whack load of Disney films. I have a 10-year-old. I've seen most of them, and the thing about them is there's always jokes and there's things written in for the audience that's above the kids. So you can always watch it at the level, at the ground-based level of some entertaining, happenings and going on in the movie. But then they'll throw in a political reference or a social reference or something that happened in 1993, which the kids would have no idea about, but the audiences watch. So I think it almost double dips, and it's family friendly, right?
Right.
Like one of the, going back to the horror genre, one of the great anomalies of the box office in the last 5 years is a movie like Terrifier making as much money as it did when the audience is very restricted. Whereas Lilo and Stitch, you have the entire broad audience to get from. So you're not cutting it off. So regardless of your social level, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of where you are, anybody can watch this and it'll be inoffensive.
Well, you would think that would happen with Snow White too, but Snow White just had too much stuff that was going wrong. They didn't want to offend the little people. I don't know what the politically correct term for them is, but they didn't want to offend little people by hiring them as, the dwarfs. And I don't know. I'm not little, so I can't speak on them. But you would think it would give them a chance to get more Hollywood roles to hire little people for something like that, And they even tried to compensate by adding like characters that were kind of similar. And I know that rubbed like audiences the wrong way, and it got so much bad press coming out that I think a lot of people didn't go see it. I mean, it's just like the live action Beauty and the Beast. Like, it got so much bad press, I didn't even go see it. And I did a whole compare and contrast of how like the CW version looks better than the trailer that they were giving us. And this is a big $100 million Disney project, probably more than that because how much they spend in marketing. And I don't know, the actresses like comments and stuff. I think it turned a lot of people away. Where I don't think Lilo and Stitch has that amount of controversy behind it.
The other point about Snow White is, as much as in this world we're saying everybody's equal and fair in these days, and I mean, to an extent I agree, it's still considered a girl film.
Right.
So you are alienating 40 to 50% of the audience. And when you're only going for an under 12 age gap and you're taking half of that away, it's not going to make as much money. Now, those that are into Snow White and Beauty and the Beast and, the Littlest Mermaids, they're hardcore. And they will buy, and there is a more than a modest audience for that, but you still are only getting generally half the audience.
And to go back to your point about nostalgia, probably Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid did better because they're hitting on that '90s nostalgia. Yeah. They came out during the Disney Renaissance. It's the people who went to go see it are still young enough to remember go see it as a kid.
I mean, when I was a kid, I remember my dad taking me to see the film you can't even find anymore in the theaters, which was The Jungle Book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I remember singing, walking through, the guy walking through the forest and singing Zippity Doo-Dah. I think YouTube has now even scrubbed it from there. So,
well, it's funny because that movie is available in other countries. It's just America that won't. Release it
because we're going back to the Southern slavery, and I understand, I get it, but take it as a piece of what it is.
Right.
Like there's lots of movies that from the 40s that were considered classics that now would never even get touched. Doesn't mean you don't treat it as a piece of work. Just know the context.
Right. And Lilo and Stitch got aliens fighting each other. It's
Lilo and Stitch it's more lighthearted, I think.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get right into our second segment.
Oh, bring me something juicy.
Marvel's first family is returning, but will they bring the fandom together or tear it apart? Let's dive into what we know about the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, the cast, and why this reboot could be MCU's most polarizing project yet. I'm one of those people, I know a lot of Marvel fans are looking forward to this Fantastic Four, but I don't know. I'm a little skeptical about it. This is the first Fantastic Four that I just wasn't hyped about. Just I don't like what they change. From what I hear, I haven't seen the movie, so this is just going off what I hear, speculation and rumors and stuff. Is that they changed the character of Johnny Storm from being a womanizer to being this sensitive guy. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of changing these characters' personalities. I want the character from the comics as he was from the comics. You can make him a modern update, but you don't change too much about these characters. And I didn't like the casting choices of like Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. I didn't like that they're gonna go with a little bit older of a Fantastic Four, and I really don't like that they're gonna be from another universe. I think you could have made them fit in the MCU as it is now and make it make sense. Their origin isn't that far off the table where it would have been weird to just throw it in there. Whereas X-Men, you got to kind of work at it because X-Men they're supposed to have been there the whole time. You got to like kind of play around with the lore a little bit to make it work. I think Fantastic Four would have worked fine if you just introduced them into the MCU as is. But what are your thoughts?
See, I'm not a superhero guy.
No,
I've never been one. I remember as a kid, my dad taking me to see Superman 2, I think it was.
mm-hmm.
But I was never a comic book guy. I was never a DC or Marvel, and I'm not saying they're bad. It just never appealed to me. I remember watching the first Iron Man in the theater,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going, okay, like it was flashy. And the one thing I do like about those films is they usually have a fairly decent soundtrack.
Yeah, they usually have good rock music.
Lots of 70s and 80s rock and roll and things, or some hip hop from back in the day or something. I always enjoy that. But I remember I went to the drive-in, not that far from my place here, just east of Toronto, a bunch of years back, and it was one of those ones with Ant-Man. But it had all of the characters together, but Ant-Man was one of the characters. And I was just sitting there going, all they're doing is fight. I mean, come on. Is there any story to this? It's just and that doesn't appeal. I if you're familiar with the old filmmaker Roger Corman, who made 100 and 200 movies, Roger Corman's was, there are three things people go to the movies to see: boobs, blood, beasts. That's where people go to the theater.
It's funny that you bring that up because Roger Corman actually made a Fantastic Four movie.
He did. I've seen it. I've seen that Roger Four, and you know what? It should have been released. It had the guy from Police Academy, Commandant Lassard, was in the beginning of that one. And I've seen, and you know what? He probably made it on $3,000, but he rubbed every dime from that $3,000 into it.
Amazing, because you couldn't find many filmmakers that would be able to do it this day. They always want to spend so much money, and that's why these prices.
There was a whole stream of Marvel films back in the late 80s or 90s that just didn't go anywhere.
Right.
What was it? Dolph Lundgren was in one of them. Was he the Punisher, like way back?
Yeah, and they had some Disney Channel actor as Thor.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time when Marvel couldn't give away the rights.
Right.
To their, I mean, you go to 1995, and if you had a couple $1 million, you could have bought them all. And then all of a sudden, I forget which was the first one I remember seeing in the theater that I really liked in the Marvel universe was Blade.
Oh, Blade was amazing. And it's such a disservice that Disney had canceled the upcoming Blade movie that they were working on. It's such a disservice.
But I remember seeing the first one in the theater, and there's that scene where it's like in an underground warehouse, and the vampires are just getting mowed down, and I'm like, I could get into this. Right. Because while it did play into the supernatural and the MCU universe, it also played into the horror end, it played into the drama end, it dropped into the thriller end. And it was, if you rewatch the movie, it's dark. And that's what I like. Like there was a stretch of Disney in the early to mid 80s where they were dark.
Yeah, like Black Cauldron and stuff like that.
Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yeah.
Or all films that were like, did they do Tron? Was Tron a Disney?
Tron's Disney, yeah.
There was a time there where Disney got in some pretty dark areas. Like, I wouldn't say flat out horror, but they were their own dark universe. And then all of a sudden out came, the broomsticks and and all the fluffy stuff of the 80s. But there was a time there where they were avant-garde. They just decided to go another way with their marketing.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot about this new Fantastic Four movie I'm not liking, and I'm not looking forward to it. I know it's probably going to make $1 billion.
Oh, it sure will.
And everyone's saying, well, it's like the comics because, they put it in a futuristic 60s environment. And I'm like, yeah, but how's the movie? Just because it's got fluff on it and it looks good doesn't mean the movie's going to actually be good. I mean, a lot of people didn't like the last Fantastic Four movie. And Marvel and Disney haven't had a really good Marvel movie in a long time. So,
I mean, I take them like the Godzilla films.
Right.
The Godzilla films, you're looking for destruction. The characters are throwaway, and you just want to see a big, entertaining film. And essentially, that's what Marvel is, because they don't, honestly, do they really care about the storyline? It's only in there to get it from X to Y. And then it's what happens in between. I mean, I'm sure they're following the comics as good as they can, but Hollywood has been known to take license before. So,
see, I don't know if they're going to be following the comic. I think it's just, well, I know all the movies are made to just make money, but I think this one is just like, okay, we got the rights. Let's just push this out. You know, it doesn't feel like there'll be a lot of love and care put into it.
No, the executive types just see what am I putting into it and what will I get out of it.
Right.
And then they'll just push comes to shove, they'll just let some 22-year-old kid out of UCLA write the script if it's cheap enough and it gets on the screen.
It's funny because you say that because that's how I feel about this next segment we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
And if we'll just go right into segment 3. Minecraft Mania. It's real, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. After a monster opening weekend, the second weekend box office is somehow even bigger. We're unpacking the phenomenon behind the pixelated powerhouse that's dominating screens everywhere. Now, I don't know if you've taken your child to go see Minecraft at all.
Yeah, she'll watch it, but she's not a gamer.
Okay.
And self-admittedly, I am not a gamer. The last video game system I owned was an Atari 2600 in 1986. That was the last video game system. Original. Like, it's probably worth something if I had ever kept it and all the games and what have you. But I am an elementary school teacher. Okay. So I know whenever there's something hitting the shelves because the kids talk about it. So I remember somebody saying, Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm like, what the hell is Five Nights at Freddy's? I don't know.
Oh, man.
And so, all the Roblox. I was like, what the hell is Roblox? I don't know. And then all of a sudden it's the kids on the yard are talking about it. So I understand the fascination with Minecraft.
It made $500 million the last 2 weekends.
Ugh. Now, I'm not saying they're good or bad, but I don't know much about that. Like, is it an adventure story? Is it like Indiana Jones of video games? What is it?
The game or the movie?
No, the movie.
Oh, the movie was, it literally felt like some guy threw in a bunch of tropes from other popular movies and put this out. Okay. So how can we advertise this video game without putting any effort into it?
Yeah, like it wasn't any deep-seated storyline where they were looking for something that would, escape, find the key to the universe or something.
They were looking for a blue cube that would send them back to Earth.
Oh boy!
And how they got to the video game world is they went through a mine shaft, and literally let's think the most popular video game movies and most popular movies going on right now. Let's take every trope from it and put together one movie. I walked out of the movie going, man, somebody got paid to write this. I can't believe that.
Now, if you're telling me they were trying to escape and their cell phone didn't work and then the car wouldn't start.
Dude, there's a scene where one of the characters from the video game world goes to the real life world and he can't speak English. And they got the desperate principal from the kid's school, hits him with a Jeep Grand Cherokee, does the product placement saying, oh man, lucky I hit you with the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And they have a whole love storyline going on there. Like, it's like, let's take tropes from every movie that's popular
As the guy's drinking a can of Pepsi that shows Pepsi or whatever.
Oh, they like zoom in on the guy's shoes to show the brand.
To show Nike or Reebok or whatever it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
And they got a character that's a main character that's like a Billy Mitchell type character. You can tell it's like they tried to put Billy Mitchell in there, which is the Donkey Kong champion for those who don't know. He's been parodied in a bunch of pop culture movies and TV shows, and it's just another one. But I'll tell you, it's one of the top 5 worst movie-going experiences I've ever had with seeing Minecraft.
Now, I can't imagine seeing a theater that might be dominated by 10 to 14-year-olds.
No, that's what it was. And it was all them, like, having a meltdown, flipping out, doing the air horns, doing all the theatrics and stuff, you know? It's,
yeah, like I remember with my daughter, it was during COVID, so we watched it at home, and we watched the Trolls 2.
Yeah.
And you know, that I'm sitting there going, at the time I think my daughter was 5 or whatever, and sitting there going, I can't imagine sitting at the theater watching this.
Yeah, I have a kid. He's my brother, but I'm helping raise him, and he likes those troll movies. I can't stand them.
The only thing I liked about it was the music. Again, I can always find something of the music, because you can always tell how old the creators are based on the music they choose.
Right.
For these movies. And the guy that did Trolls had Ozzy Osbourne and Lemmy from Motorhead. So I was all for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how this movie. I mean, I know there's kids who watch this movie, but it's just, I don't know. It's not a good movie. It's gonna be one of those things where people talk about it 10 years ago and go 10 years later go, I don't know how we watched this. You know,
is it going to be thought in the same realm as the Super Mario's movie?
See, I think the Super Mario movie just has charm. You know, I think Minecraft doesn't have charm. I think the only thing that's making it a little bit watchable is Jack Black. He's doing his Jack Blackisms. But if you've seen a Jack Black movie, this doesn't add anything to it. This
isn't School of Rock.
Right. This is literally, it's like Super Mario Brothers like light, you know.
Okay. So there's no endearing character or something that, you know.
Dude, like half the characters feel like you could cut them out and it wouldn't change the movie.
Yeah. Cookie cutter.
Like, and I swear, I was saying this in the theater. They have this scene where they make like chicken off of like lava, and I was begging. I was like, please don't make the black girl eat this. Please don't make because like it set itself up to do
so stereotypical.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how this movie is. You know, I would never give it a second watch. It's just not.
So they were literally cashing in on the name.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They even have one of those like portal scenes, like all these like movies did 5 years ago, where the big portal opens up in the sky and they gotta defeat whatever's coming up. Like, it's not good. But I will say, I let my 6-year-old see it, and he loves it. He absolutely loves it.
Like anybody under 10, I get it. Or if
this is my friend Kai here.
Hey Kai, how are you?
What's going on, man?
Hey, have you seen Minecraft yet?
Dude, me and my cousin brought my son and Y to see it just the other day.
How'd you guys enjoy it? Because I didn't like it very much. Bill hasn't seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
I liked everything except Jason Momoa, man. I thought he was way too corny, way too overplayed. Like, tried to bite off the 80s way too hard.
Yeah, they were really trying to go for that, like, 80s nostalgia in there.
80s, you're never going to bring that back, ever.
Yeah.
See, there's that Super Mario Brothers influence.
Right.
Right. But as Jack Black, I thought he was hilarious. Like, I mean, as far as you can, like, turn a video game into a movie, they didn't do too bad.
I couldn't stand it, man. I went there. I didn't like anything about that movie. I thought it was terrible.
Was there any decent music?
I don't know. I didn't really feel a lot of the soundtrack.
I know a lot of the kids were quoting the chicken lava song.
Chicken jockey or something like that.
Yeah, they were all singing out the theater. All the kids were singing it. Oh my god.
Dude, they're destroying movie theaters.
Yeah, you see, one guy brought a chicken into the movie theater with him.
That's like that movie back in the day. What was it? Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh
They
yeah,
throw the toilet paper, the toast. Yeah. But yeah, they were destroying the movie theaters over this.
we got one more segment to talk about. And last but not least, Ubisoft's got a lawsuit going right now, and it brings up the question: do you really own your movies and video games when you buy it from a physical copy? Um, Ubisoft doesn't think so, and now they're in legal hot water over the game The Crew. There's basically some guy is suing them because he bought the game and in order to play the game you have to connect it to a server, and Ubisoft took down the server, but they're still selling the game.
But then how do you play it?
You do not play it.
So then why are they selling it?
Right. That's part of the lawsuit because California's got like a lawsuit about false advertisement, and this is basically false advertisers selling this game.
Yeah, I would think the state's attorney would be all over this.
Yeah, it's a big deal, but it brings up the question: when you buy a DVD, a Blu-ray, do you own the movie? And I guess companies want to do now, and they were showing this off at a tech convention earlier this year, is have Blu-ray players that have to connect to a server in order for it to work, for even to read the disc. Which to me is mind-blowing to me, because I've always been a physical media person. You know, I don't believe in the whole streaming thing. I like to have the physical copy so I can play it whenever I want, and nobody's going to take it away from me, you know?
But does that mean, say you bought a DVD 5 years ago? You can play it on your DVD player, it works fine, but one you buy last week at Walmart, you can't play on that same DVD player?
That I don't know. I just know like the newer Blu-ray players, they want to update this thing where it has to connect to a server.
Yeah, I mean that would take changing up technology that people have been using for the last 30 years.
Right.
And there'll be a lot of people that just say, screw it, I ain't flipping over. Because I remember laser discs. I remember 8-tracks. I remember cassettes. My dad used to have a Freddie Fender 8-track. Technology advances, but there'll be a point where the public just says, screw it.
Right. It's already killing physical media, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you go into we used to have up here the big places that sell Radio Shack and all that. They've gone under.
Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's just crazy.
I used to go to FYE once a week and pick up 2 DVDs and some CDs and stuff.
I still have a Blockbuster card in my wallet.
No. Wow, that's a blowback. You know, there's only like one Blockbuster left that's still operational.
And it's closing.
Oh, is it?
The one in Indiana is closing.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Man.
There's a good documentary on the last Blockbuster, if you can find it out there. But yeah, I'm sure it's a money grab, but they had the same crap when it was beta versus VHS. Like, it's technology is technology, but I can't see somebody like, I got a good buddy, one of the guys that's a co-host on my podcast. He's got 30,000 DVDs.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I got boxes of them.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any shelf space anymore for them.
Right.
So I can't see them saying you can no longer use them because you're not hooked up to the central system. I can't see that happening.
They want to turn everything into a subscription service, much like the like Adobe and Microsoft Word and stuff like that.
I mean, there will still be subscription services. There'll still be Netflix. There'll still be Prime. There'll still be Shudder. But there's also the alternative of having the hard copy.
Yeah, I think they want to turn everything into a subscription service, you know? Hey, you want to drink that water, you better have that subscription, you know?
Even video game consoles now, they make them without disk drives.
Yeah.
I mean, what they're going to do now is they'll push it underground. And there'll be companies that create these for the people that want the hardcore, but they'll just be little niche companies.
Yep.
Kind of like in the late 90s, early 2000s, when nobody was buying records. There were still companies out there making records, but they were small niche companies.
And it's kind of funny how records have made a comeback recently.
Oh yeah, they're huge now. I can't go to a store without seeing a record player for sale.
But there was a time 10 years ago you could go to a yard sale and buy them for $0.25.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden people bought them for $0.25. Like I heard now that CDs are making a comeback. I don't want to see those goddamn things anymore.
I don't think I have anything that'll play a CD anymore.
But I mean, they got scratched. They were unwieldy. They were,
Yep.
Technology moves on.
Unless you had a really good Walkman.
Well,
You had a really good Walkman, you can go anywhere.
There was a meme the other day, and it was somebody had a Walkman, not a Walkman, a CD man that was now in the display case of a museum.
Wow.
Oh, man, that makes me feel old.
Like,
Wow.
That makes me real feel old.
I remember those things when you drive your car and the car bumps and the CD would skip and.
Or even like before, like you have your Walkman, and then you got the cassette that plugs into your car radio just to play your CD. Like
I remember once I was pissed off at my brother and I just threw his tape out the window. You can't do that anymore. Kids don't know that.
Yeah, there was like a little reel where like they were showing like today's generation, like the old school dial phones, where the wheel phones, spin it all the way around. Like, how do you call on this? Like, they couldn't operate it.
Well, you know what made me funny is one of those reels popped up on Facebook for mine, and I get stuff with technology. There is a place in the States somewhere, I'm not sure where, I think in California, where there are kids of the 19, 20, 21 that are taking lessons on how to use a phone because they don't know anymore because all they do is text. So there's like how to make a doctor's appointment. How to, how to call your local DMV for a sticker, because they don't know how they haven't been given the socialization.
I'm surprised you just can't text them by now.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's some times where technology helps us, but in other ways, I think it's a kick in the nuts because it's driving everybody back, right?
Yeah. Yep, I totally agree. I think technology has ruined the dating scene.
Oh God! If I had to date in today's technology, I don't even know what swipe. Well, I would swipe down. I don't know.
No, I absolutely think it's ruined today's dating scene.
But to bring it all back, how do you think this will affect this?
Well, I've been for years, since like the 360 days, the Xbox 360. I used to put like my DVDs on a hard drive and watch it right off my Xbox. I think that's going to be the future, is you're just going to have to rip what you got, and protect your.
We're going back to the days when back to the days when you had double VCRs, one on top of each other.
Yeah.
So you can play one and record the other one on the one below it. There'll be a lot of bootleg stuff. I mean, that's going to happen. It's going to kick stuff underground.
Speaking of the bootleg stuff, I seen a guy put the Ring videotape on a Game Boy Advance cartridge and was sending them out for Christmas gifts this year to people. And I don't know if you're familiar with the horror movie. You're a horror guy, The Ring.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He put the
that
VHS
scared the crap
tape
out of me when it came out
on the Game Boy cartridge.
Oh really? Are there any I didn't realize. Are there any video game systems that use cartridges?
The Switch.
Okay, there is a physical
cartridge.
You can't buy the 3-inch by 2-inch. It's
like the old school Game Boy or the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, like the old school Nintendos where you just. I used to have. I was explaining to Ivor. My last video game system was the Atari 2600 original.
What's that?
Exactly. but you got the physical thing and you put the cartridge in.
Yep.
Nobody does that anymore.
No, I think they Nintendo switched back to the little cartridges, like look like SD cards, but that's about as close as
they should bring the N64 back.
Oh, N64 was classic. That's one of my favorites.
GoldenEye, that's all I ever played.
I think they're gonna reboot the GoldenEye video games.
They did. You can. My buddies, we were playing it the other day on his Xbox, but it's just it's
Oh,
not
man.
the same. It's just not.
But you know what's funny is I remember back in the day when my family didn't own a VCR and you rented a VCR.
Whoa.
And these things were 30 pounds, like they were big suckers. But you could also rent the video game system. And I remember renting Pong.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And you look at Pong and you go, okay, it's pixelated, it's one thing, bumping. It is hard as hell. You really play it. Like it is a lot of fun because that thing would whip around. And if you're not quick on the dial,
But did those games have patterns? Like or was it all unpredictable? Because I remember, like, what was it, Robotron? Or one of those, like, there was no pattern, so you didn't know it was unpredictable.
Yeah, it was the same with like you would play Donkey Kong or you'd play, Miss Pac-Man or you play Q*bert and those and you would just play like eventually I guess if you spent enough time you'd find a pattern, but I never had the patience. After 10 minutes I'd be screw it, I'm done.
I grew up with Super Nintendo, man. That was real. That was good for its time, you know. That if you compare that to the stuff that's out now, like I would never imagine that we'd get like video games that look realistic, you know.
No, I can remember playing a game. I don't know if you guys ever played. There was a hockey game called Blades of Steel.
Oh, man,
and when you'd play, you would actually physically fight the other guy. That's why it was Blades. You were more like warriors than you were, or there was battle chess.
That's awesome.
Where you would battle each other across, and if you won the fight, you won the square,
That's awesome. I've never heard that. I'm going to put that on the list, battle chess.
But the reason I never got into video games is you had to have dexterity with your hands and the controller. And I could never remember quick enough, left, right mean, left to here speeds this up and you unlock. I remember playing NHL 1995 or whatever it was. And I was like, this guy doesn't skate that fast. Why is he whipping? I was just like, forget it.
Dude, I tried one of the newer hockey games. I gave up. I couldn't do it. My little brother was like kicking my butt. And I couldn't do it. There's just way too much going on all at once, and like angles of attack, and where you got to shoot. It was too much. I like Call of Duty. I like running around shooting things. It's brainless. It's easy. It's simple.
Yeah, I like Call of Duty, but even Call of Duty, man, we haven't had a good one since Black Ops 2.
Yep. I agree.
What's the one where they steal the cars?
Grand Theft Auto?
Grand Theft Auto. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, man, that has gone. Dude, the new one that's coming out is going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about that is every once in a while somebody will say, hey, I remember that song. It's in the background of Grand Theft Auto. And I'm like, really? Oh, some 70s rock song or something.
Grand Theft Auto has some of the best soundtrack because they just like pull from
the radios were ridiculous.
Yeah. So when I used to have my PS2, I used to just like play the radio in the background because just the music on there was amazing, you know.
Dude, the talk shows are so unpredictable. You didn't know what they were gonna say next. On San Andreas in particular, oh man, it was wild.
But that's the end of our show. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everybody coming on. Bill, do you want to tell my fans where they can find you?
Sure. If you want to look us up, I'm at Land of the Creeps. Look us up on Apple, Spotify. And if you are looking for something a little lighter, please check out music, movies, sports, and stuff, where you'll get small little segments about each of the topics. Check out our Facebook page. Look me up on Spotify or whatever, Apple or whatever you want to go to. And I would love to come on again sometime. I would have a blast. You guys are so laid back. I can just talk about all my nerdiness and feel normal. And that's what I love.
Kai, tell the people where they might want to find you at.
Facebook, Kai Johnson. Yeah, this is actually the first time I've ever been on like a live talk anything. So this was cool.
I think you did a good job.
You're awesome. You're going to be on for number 2.
All right. Sounds good.
You guys can find us on Facebook, Nerd Talk Podcast, Instagram, The Nerd Talk Podcast, and we're still working on the TikTok one. The TikTok got hacked, and it's a big mess.
That's a whole mess I ain't getting part of.
You guys can also find my new book, Galactic Guardians. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere you can find books. So check that out. Everything, all the links will be in the description below, so you guys can find us. And I appreciate you guys for watching. Until next time, bye bye.
Later, guys.
Later.